Welcome to another episode of ResellRadio. My name is Nick, I am the co-founder of Hustle, and our aim here is to share the journeys of resellers and to help you as a reseller improve your store and get the information that you want to hear. Today on the podcast I have got BaselBaselShop, and this guy reworks his clothes. He has gone from reselling years ago with trainers. He then found Depop in 2015 and was selling clothes, and has now even started reworking his own stuff from like Nike, Patagonia, those kinds of brands. Very, very interesting story. I'm going to throw it over to my podcast self and get going with the podcast right now. So yeah, let's start at the start. How did you begin?
I was doing trainers and stuff for a long time. It was like, I think a friend showed me, because I'm about 30 years old now, but he showed me eBay in like 2004. And I didn't understand how it worked at all. And he was like, yeah, I basically sell things on this website. And I was like, wow. And he already had a big collection of like trainers and clothes from back in the day. And I was quite impressed. I was like, wow, he's actually making money and we're only like 14-year-olds. And from that, me and him started going to buy sneakers and queue up and got into it for years. And it was always like off and on. And then someone introduced me to Depop around, I don't know, it was like 2015, something like that. And then I had a shop before this. It was just like similar things to everyone else, reselling, Supreme, Babe, everything like that. And then I closed that store mid last year. And then I started this new store around the end of the summer last year. And I was doing similar things. And then I started seeing how like sustainability was coming into it and reworking was becoming a factor. Like high quality reworks were actually selling. So I started venturing down that towards like the middle part of this year. I picked it up, and then now I'm just purely reworks. So I'm not selling any other items now. It's just stuff that I actually make.
Did you have those skills before then?
I trained as a trade. I'm a mason, like a stonemason. But I got trained to do templates and technical drawings, but it's literally they're crossover skills that you can use in tailoring or within textiles. So I knew how to make templates already and how to create shapes and so on. So a lot of it correlated with reworking really and making clothes in general.
Okay, all right, cool. So the reworking started, about last year?
It started, I literally sat down on a machine in like February this year.
Okay. So it's been almost like a little lockdown project.
It was just before this all kicked off. I wanted to start sewing like towards the end of 2019, but I just didn't get around to it, and I didn't have any faith in it really. And then I finally like pushed myself to use a machine, and it was just before all this craziness, and then put a lot more effort into it as the year went on.
Yeah. So I've seen on your page that you like to remake a few sort of like caps, bags, like accessories. What's your favorite thing to make?
Hats are really fun to make. It's a nice process as well to see it come alive. And the bottle bags with the strap, like the climber's rope straps, they're really nice to make. They're very simple. It's like an outlay, and then you finally make it a cylinder. And then you attach the hardest bit is the cylinder, the bottom of it. Up until that point, it's really enjoyable. Yeah, so they're quite fun.
So, what do you look for when you're trying to rework? So, do you have something in your head that you want to make, and then you look for the materials, or do you see the materials come up, and then you're like, oh, I could make it into this?
Yeah, you just see like the coloration of something. And if I already have, say I've got a Patagonia jacket that's blue, and then I've seen like a pastel one, I think, yeah, I can correlate those two jackets. And one of them has like a nice patch that I can use on the front. And then your mind starts I almost just hold the jacket or whatever the garment is and just sit there and think about it for like 20 minutes. And you can think how you can use the mesh, like pull the mesh out, or you can reuse the zips or the cuffs, anything. So it all comes to you. It's not like you've got like a preset plan. It just comes to you as you go.
Okay, all right, quite a creative process. It would not work for me at all.
Yeah.
quite a logical. I could see this at £15. I could sell that for £40, and then I could do that. I'm definitely not the one to break something down and go, I could add this or twist this around, add this color.
Yeah,
it does not work for me.
It's like a risk. It's a risk, yeah.
Yeah. So how long does it take? How many items do you get out, like per week, per day? What?
Initially, I was just doing like maybe 2 a week, like very small, minimal. And then they were selling, and I started to think there's actually more in it for me if I make reworks. So I sort of continued down the path. But last week I made like 29 like items from scratch, like cut the material and made so you get faster as you go. But the only way you're going to make, I mean, unless you price every item at like 150, the only way you can make a good return is like multiples. So you need to be able to make quite a lot of stock in a short amount of time, like a quick turnover. So you get quicker as you go. It's taken me like a whole year to get a bit more sufficient on the machine. It does take time, yeah.
Are you doing this full time, or do you still do your other work?
No, this is full time now.
Yeah. When did that go full time?
November last year, because I was doing reselling across different, not just Depop, across like Grailed and Etsy and different apps. And then I was doing like the bulk buying, like warehouse stock. And I kept seeing all the damaged jackets and garments in those warehouses. And if you ask the guys, they would let them go for nothing, like £3 or £4 or less. Or I'd say to them, I want to use this as a template and just break it down. So I'm not actually going to resell it. And the guy would be generous and say, I'll just take it if it had like oil stains all over it or whatever. So that's how it started, really. Because you was getting stuff for free, basically.
Oh, right. So although it was a risk to see whether you could actually make it happen, money-wise, there was none.
No, initially no, because you're getting a garment and you can make something out of nothing, really. And that's the beautiful thing when you sell something that's reworked, and the effort that you put in, it's all like warranted by the amount of money you get back. So it's quite, you feel good when you've completed something and then it also sells for a good amount. It's like, it gives you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I can imagine. If you don't mind, what kind of markups do you make on it then? Obviously, you invest a lot of time into each piece, but
yeah, I mean, now it's quite stable now. The return you can get is like, it depends on different items. I mean, with bags, it's a smaller return, like a tote bag. You'll maybe take like £35 out of it. And then with more technical Patagonia items, etc., you can up the price because it's initially more expensive for you to get the item. So you can make, like your 80, 90s out of a piece. And it depends also with Arc'teryx pieces, you can charge a lot more because it's really hard to get hold of. And then you can, obviously, they are expensive items initially, so your markup's a lot more, so you can make a good profit from them.
Yeah. What's the best return you've ever had?
Like £200 profit.
Bloody hell. On one item, what was that?
It was like someone from South Korea. They bought like a reworked vest, like a gilet.
Okay.
I made. There's a lot of market for it in like Germany, the US, and like South Korea, Japan. I think they like new, different items, like stuff that you couldn't get off the other retailers. They like that special one-off item.
Mm-hmm.
And they're willing to pay more because they love clothes as much as we do. So they're willing to pay a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of international customers then compared to your national?
Yeah. Most of my business comes from America at the moment. Because I think the exchange rate's really good for them to buy currently. So they're a lot more intrigued, like through Grailed and so on. You get a lot of interest. And when you look around the different apps, there's not much reworking going on. A lot of the rework you see is solely from Instagram at the moment.
Okay, so that's how you reach the international customers, not so much off Depop.
No, I mean more with. I've had a lot of success with like promotions on Instagram, and you pull in like an international crowd, and then I have like a .co.uk, and you'll get international sales through there, or through Grailed. It's like Australia, etc. You'll get a lot of international buyers. Depop's a strange one because I think is it most popular in the UK? I'm not sure. Must be.
Yeah.
You see a lot of US people on there, don't you? Putting items up.
It's growing. It's definitely growing in the US, but yeah, definitely biggest in the UK at the minute.
Yeah. And how have you guys found this year?
This year, well, we had we started off this year and we took a break from selling actually.
Did you?
Right near the start. Yeah, we were working together for a long time, and then I was going through some stuff and I wasn't putting my effort in. So then Ethan went forward and kept doing it himself, and then it became a bit much for him, and he was in full-time work. I was in full-time work. We took the break, we went back at different times, and then come together, and using all of our past knowledge that we had, we're able to pick up the sales like really, really quite quickly.
Yeah.
Because although the market changes, Depop changes, there are some fundamental things that you can learn about reselling, which just means you can jump straight back into it, such as how you source your items, how to advertise your items, how to connect with the customers. And if you know those three things, all you have to do is just break down what product works right now and how much is it worth right now.
Of course.
So we were selling Tommy jumpers before, and some of them would go for like £50, and it would go comfortably, it would go quite quickly. And then we came back and it was like, oh, actually, these ones sell for maybe like 30, 35 now. The style that people wanted had changed slightly. But with that knowledge, just a little bit of time, and we're able to get right back up to where we were before.
Yeah. Is it nice to have someone with you, like to help? Someone does one task and you can be outsourcing items, or they're taking care of the post. Is it helpful?
Yeah. Oh, mate, definitely. So Ethan deals with the physical clothes. He gets everything put to his house. He's got the warehouse. He takes the pictures, all of that. And then I would do the online stuff, such as like actually dealing with the Depop customers and sourcing, all of that sort of stuff. It just makes sense. And it helps so much.
When you've got to talk to everyone about each item, etc., that becomes like the most draining aspect, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just, the thing I hate the most, but is annoying because it's so important, is when you go through and relist all your items. When you edit, relist, and you have to go through your whole store. And oh god, I see people with items of like 1,000, 1,500 items, and imagine going through that many.
Oh, mate. They was talking about it on the Depop forum thing, and they were saying there should really be an automatic button when you just slide it or click it, and it will bump up all your items again.
Yeah, I've seen there's on the website you can do that, but it just moves all the solds to the bottom. It doesn't actually relist all of your items. But I think you can get Depop assistants, like these little bots that you could pay subscription fees for. I don't think that Depop endorse it, so you have to be a bit careful when you're using it, but they definitely exist. So I imagine a lot of people use them.
Yeah, that would take hours off your life. Add hours to your life, sorry,
yeah.
Give you
Going back to what you said before, you use Depop, Grailed, Etsy, as well as your Instagram, as well as your website. What have you noticed? Because, let's stick to the apps, Grailed, Etsy, and Depop. What's the differences you see between those three apps?
Etsy's pretty good in regard to if you put a price, the person won't ever haggle with you. They'll just pay that exact price, and they'll pay like the exact shipping. Like sometimes you'll give free shipping on Depop to motivate people. On Etsy, it's really fair. Like they'll pay exactly what you want, which is always nice because you'll retain the profit that you wanted. And it's like 6% fee, I think. And Grailed is completely different. Like it's like the way things move on Depop, you see how the trends, they're all slowly changing and always adapting. Whereas I think that happens on Grailed, but just they've got certain likes completely different to us in regard to clothing. Like there'll be brands on there that are really, really popular that you won't even find like 5 items on Depop of the same brand.
Oh, right.
It's a completely different market. And I think on Grailed, reworking doesn't really exist. I think that I've seen like 1 or 2 people, but it's quite a good scope on there for rework because there's no competition essentially to sell it. And it's quite interesting for them to see, I guess. But they're all very different.
Yeah, and then what's your experience with Depop with your reworked items?
Oh, it's really good. And Depop have been really supportive in the last like 3 or 4 months. I think they've noticed what I'm doing, because before I was, if I sold a reworked item, it would just disappear. It would go down to just sold. So I started relisting them, but just putting the price at like £1,000. But it's not because I'm selling it at the price. I want to just display it as like a gallery piece. And after I started doing that, I think it started getting more notice. People started to come in and see like, oh, this is literally just what he does. So that helped a lot. And that
do you ever do custom items? Do you ever have people look at a bag and they go, oh, if you get an Adidas bit in, could you rework it like that?
Yeah, but it's aggro. Because like you could start a custom and then you show them like a picture of the progress and then they want to completely adapt it. Unless you can have full creative control as like the guy who makes it, it's really difficult to collaborate with people on it. I think it just adds, for me personally, it's added like aggravation in the past.
Yeah. Have you had that from experience?
Yeah, just if you've got a lot of orders you're already fulfilling, and then you've got someone coming and saying, "Oh, I want this piece done," and you start creating it, giving yourself a time scale of maybe like 3 days to finish it, and then halfway through they completely change what they want. It becomes more like hassle than it's worth, because then you're losing time, and the money that you were going to earn from it is getting cut into because you're having to spend more days to complete it, basically.
Yeah, I can imagine that be so annoying.
Because everyone wants their like ideal custom piece, don't they? It's like Nike ID. Like everyone likes to sit there and make their exact to their specifications. When you've got your own idea yourself as the reworker, then you're just pulling in different directions, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's better to design it yourself and just go in your own direction. I think it's a lot more relaxed as well.
How do you go about, particularly on Depop, advertising your items, considering, well, I guess you could put the brand in there, can't you, which is going to help, but custom things is quite hard to come about in the search. Yeah,
you just I normally relist, like you take the draft back and then you relist it. I normally do that kind of thing, and that will just, some people that haven't seen it when it first got relisted will come through and they'll see it again. That's what I try and do. And you can now actually list it as reworked. The new options where it's like colors and then style underneath.
Yeah.
I think that's been helpful because it groups together all your pieces. So if someone just types in reworks, you'll possibly come up at the top, and it'll just be all your pieces, so it highlights you more.
Okay, yeah, definitely seen a big move from Depop at the minute where they're trying to up that search, like people being found in the search. And I can imagine people like yourself and other people that do customs and rework things, that is going to help massively.
Yeah. Do you think, what do you think about the new Explore page? You know, when it's like, you can pull it left to right and then you have to tap see all.
Oh, right, with the, they got the 2 rows and it shows you like the My DNA sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then you go the next one along and it's like the quadrant and then you can slide it. I think it's a bit more awkward, isn't it, than before?
Yeah, I have to say, before I would look at the Explore page just occasionally just to see what pops up.
Yeah.
But now where it is a bit more, I don't know, just sort of like bitty, I don't know, I don't really use it at all anymore.
It's finicky, isn't it?
Yeah. Before, I only really use Depop if there's something I want to buy. Then I'll go on Depop, but I know what I want.
You straight in.
So I just search it straight away. But before I would just browse. When I'm on my app, I would just browse. But now I'm not really feeling it at all because it's a bit clunky. It's a bit awkward.
And for people as well who are like well versed with the app, if they find it like technically difficult to use, imagine you're a fresh buyer coming into it. They must be like completely confused.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And it's growing at a crazy rate at the minute as well. So you've probably got a lot of confused people, haven't it?
They're finding it hard to find your items, really, aren't they? Unless like they're like us, you know, they're direct and they just put in the exact garment they want. To browse is becoming more difficult, I think.
Yeah. Have you seen that have an impact on your shop?
Yeah, I felt like there was a low period after like summer. Just went a little bit quiet. I don't think people were buying as much. I don't know what changed. And then it was quite steady afterwards throughout like probably September, October. Now Christmas period was quite busy until like the end of last week where he put the stop to the mixing and so on. I think people lost the enthusiasm for Christmas in the last week or so. So it's been quite quiet again for me, like the last week.
Yeah, we've not had. I think we've picked up in the last few days.
Yeah.
But the first few weeks of December, there was a noticeable drop. And
really,
we had quite a few people talking about the December dip. Which have you ever heard of that before?
I've experienced it last year, but then you know when it comes to the end of December, everyone gets their money back, like they get paid out again for the month. It gets really busy again, like towards the first week of January. But when you go on that Depop,
that's what I've only been through. I think it's the Christmas money and stuff because I've been through. Well, this is the 3rd December now as a reseller, and I've never had the dip before, but certainly from Christmas through January, I've noticed that there's definitely an increase in sales.
Oh yeah. Once people are like more confident because some people just ask for money for Christmas, don't they? And you can't go to Boxing Day sales this year, so I think we're all going to benefit from that. Yeah,
that is actually a very, very good shout. Got to make sure you get your items up in time for that.
Because people are going to be online, aren't they? Because essentially there's nowhere to go. So I think there'll be a lot more sales after the end of this week.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Do you do any reselling at all anymore? Or is it all just reworks?
I love vintage t-shirts. I basically, like in the summer, was really getting into like American vintage t-shirts and like studying the labels and finding out the worth, because it's a huge market. There's so much money in it as well. Just out of interest, you know, like for nostalgia, if you liked a certain band or hip hop act, I think I'll return to that in the summer. No one really wears t-shirts out in the winter in England, so it's a bit of a hard sell.
Yeah, just got to wait for that one to come back around.
In April, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if you could give someone starting off on this app 3 tips, whether they're a reseller or they rework their clothes, whatever it is they do, what would they be?
Get some whiteboards and a ring light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like just make sure your pictures are really sharp. That would be my first tip, because I think the picture sells, you know, sells the item. It's like 90% of it. And patience. You know, if you're not selling as much as you think you should be, etc., just have some patience, and you will prevail. Mm-hmm. And you know, if your products are good and the pictures, etc., are good, then you will start seeing results. And the last one is just enjoy it. Don't get too stressed out, because I've had moments where I get really stressed, and you know, like you start getting messages from buyers, and you start feeling the stress of the whole thing. But just enjoy it, because you're essentially doing something that is completely different from normal work. You know, it's meant to be like an enjoyable pursuit and a different lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yeah, I need to remember that myself sometimes to enjoy it, because I get stressed out as well.
Yeah, I think it all catches up with us at some points here and there. But yeah, that's some sound advice, especially the patience bit. I feel like not many people mention that, but we say that there's patience is one of the reasons that you're going to succeed. If you have no patience, you're not going to make the money you think.
No.
Because you get some people that have an item up for like £150 and it sells for, say, £140. You could have the same item, put it up for £150, but then you don't get a sale after a week, and so you drop it down to 140. 2 weeks pass, you drop it down to 120. Third week passes, now it's down to 100, and someone offers you 90, and you're like, all right, cool, I've got to take it because it's got to go quickly.
Yeah.
But if you stuck with it, that week after, that 4th week, where they've had the patience, they've managed to sell it for the full price. And
have you ever had that when you sold it as well, and then the next week someone comes and goes, I would have given you this for it, or like, how much is this? And you're like, oh shit. yes, that's happened quite a few times, and it's the most frustrating thing. Because you're always thinking about immediate money, aren't you? And what else you've got to pay for outside of, in general life. But yeah, patience is key, because you know the worth of the item. Like, you know if it's a really good piece, and you're being fair really with your pricing, and it should go for that amount. It's always soul destroying when you have to drop it, and you know personally it's a really good, strong item. So if you wait, like you say, like a couple of weeks, it might move. You never know. So it is about patience, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. If you've done the research and you've got fair pricing, you just got to be patient with it. What a story. This guy is completely different to anyone else that I have spoken to that is doing the reselling. Okay, the way that he reworks his products is definitely not for me. I'm not that creative, but I would love to see the process happen myself, because some of the products that he is bashing out are genuinely so nice. The other things that I picked up on there was how he's seen the change in Depop, how it's moving towards the search and finding items through the search, which should help him rework his items. So Depop bringing in a whole new community there. But yeah, what a guy. It'd be interesting to see where it takes him, considering it's only been full-time for a year. But if you're listening, thank you very much for this sit down, and I hope this helps everyone. His links are all going to be in the description, and like we say every single time, like if you liked, dislike if you didn't, comment and tell us any single feedback or anything that you want to see, and we can help you out with as resellers.